Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Marshalltown Bobcats' first ever Mario Kart competition. We will be versing New Hampton Chickasaw versus South Tama County Trojans. Let's go ahead and take a look at the team lineup. So for today's team lineup, we have Juan Pisano, Jonathan Ocampo for Team 1. We have Mauricio Javi Nunez and Mark Rodriguez for Team 2. Team 3, we have Gunnar Mast and Ross Vitek for the last team. And it is coached by Andrew Klossman and me, your host, Jose Ramirez, but I will be running your stream today, and as well as Logan Wolf. Now, let's go ahead and jump in. Looks like they got into the action already. And looking here, we have Gunnar on the left, Ross on the right. Ross chose a Mario boat combo, and we got Gunnar with a teddy bear. Looks like we have Ross here right behind first place in second, and then we got Gunnar here in fifth. Ooh, looks like Ross got hit with the red shell right behind, got knocked off the map. We got Gunnar right here running back and trying to catch up to that fourth place player right here. Looks like Gunnar did overpass fourth and is right behind Ross, but looks like Ross got back and got into fifth place. Looks like they're right next to each other. There is friendly fire in this, so they can hit each other. So just as a warning, looks like Gunnar does have some speed mushrooms right with him. And not far behind is Ross in sixth place. Ooh, looks like Gunnar fell right down the hole. So did Ross, but looks like they are right on the moon there. And they are doing pretty well so far, trying to catch up to those top players. Looks like Ross got that third place, and Gunnar came right from behind with that bullet bob. Looks like Gunnar's right in fourth place, and Ross is in third. Ross took up that second place, and Gunnar's still in fourth, trying to catch up to that third place player. Ross is doing a pretty good job trying to catch up to that first place, but he's all the way up there, has some catching up to do. Ooh, Gunnar got hit by a shell there. Back to fifth place is where he goes. And Ross ends up getting second place, and we got Gunnar over here finalizing in fifth. Jumped in straight into the action there, so pretty hectic so far. And so each team will be running teams of two, so it'll be 2v2v2. We will actually be getting to pick maps. We actually started out with Team 3 this time instead of Team 1. Looks like the other school needed a student to leave early. So looks like we're jumping into Team 3 right away. And then we'll be switching back to Team 1 and then Team 2. So we'll give that a shot. Looks like we're going back into the race. And Ross will start in second, and Gunnar will start in fifth. And let's see some action right now. Starting out right away, Ross ends up in third, drops back down to fifth, and Gunnar is actually in third, so he jumped up a few spots, and it looks like Ross has a red shell. Ooh, hits his own player with the red shell, drops him back down to fifth, and Gunnar comes back up to fourth, and looks like they're battling each other. Gunnar ends up ending up in sixth, and we have Ross in fourth place. Looks like Gunnar does have a boost mushroom. And it looks like they're just trying to catch up to each other and trying to get to that final to those higher up players here. So it looks like Ross will end up in third place, and Gunnar's still in sixth. Throws a banana. And still trying to catch up to those top two players, Ross, and Gunnar staying in sixth, catching up to that fifth place player. Looks he used his final mushroom to catch up to fifth place, but ends up getting back knocked down to sixth. Ross does have a green shell. And with the green shell, it doesn't hone in on the player, so he has to aim, and it can bounce off the walls, and he has to hit the other player. Ross ends up using some speed shells. He has a red honing shell. And he's still in third place. Throws that red shell. Looks like it ends up missing. Gets another red shell. And ends up throwing that missile. Ooh, looks like it missed it again. Gunner does have it. Ooh, ends up hitting himself. Does have a boost mushroom. Ends up boosting up to second place. Ooh, blocks the red shell with another green shell. Doing some pretty good defense and some great offense, but looks up like he got... Ooh, nice one. Ends up getting that player and ends up in second place again. Has a red honing missile, or shell. Ends up getting second place again. Nice job, Ross. And we got Gunner right behind with a gold mushroom, boosting up, gets hit with the car, and ends up in sixth place again. Or sixth place, sorry. Not again. Some pretty good action going on so far. Looks like they're getting set up for one more final one. Let's see how that ends up going. As they're picking up the maps here, trying to figure out what would be the next course, I'd like to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, which just happens to be Sub-City. If you guys would like to go see Sub-City, they're on 8th East Main Street. They are a nice supporter of the Marshalltown Bobcat Esports and are providing our team dinners. So huge shout out to them with their delicious subs. And it looks like let's get right back to the action here. Alright, starting out again. We got Ross in first this time. Ends up being back in second. Gunner jumps up to second to third. Gunner we have Ross here in first. Drops back down to third, but Gunner is right behind them in third. Ends up getting off the map and slowing down. Drops back down to fifth. We got Ross in third, trying to catch up to those top leader players. Right now has a red honing shell, ends up missing, unfortunately, with Ross. And we got Gunner still in fifth, jumping back up, bouncing back and forth between fifth and fourth. Ends up getting to fifth. Ross got hit with the shell, ends up down all the way to sixth place. And we got Gunner back in fifth place, and Ross not far behind him with some boost mushrooms. Ends up going all the way back to fifth, and we have Gunner in fourth place, catching up to those top three leaders. And Ross not far behind. And see what kind of tricks up these sleeves they have. We got a boost shell right now. Someone threw a banana. It looks like both of them got a boost shell. Gunner ends up back and forth, and we got Ross in third place. And we got 3 boost mushrooms for Ross. Ends up taking a shortcut with those boost mushrooms. Ends up getting him back to second place. And we got Gunner over here in fourth place, trying to catch up to those top 3 leaders again. Looks like Ross has a red honing shell. Ends up throwing 2 red honing shells. And unfortunately does not get them. But we got Gunner over here taking a shortcut with a red boost mushroom. Ends up fourth. Ross gets hit with a shell and ends up back in fourth place, unfortunately. And then we got Gunner taking the third place spot and trying to catch up to the leader. Throws a green shell and hits him, unfortunately, but he was spinning out of control and didn't take much of an effect. A blue shell goes up there to take out that first player. And looks like Gunner ends up all the way back in fifth. And we got Ross with some red honing shells. Throws them out, misses, throws out a second one. And hits him, throws out a third one, throws out another one, nice, hits him, and ends up back in second place. We have, and he gets a boost mushroom, ends up right behind him, but watch out, the guy has a banana. So ends up missing him, and we got Gunner over here catching up in 5th place, trying to get closely following behind the 4th place player, and Ross ends up in 2nd place. So we got Gunner again in 5th place, and we got Ross in 2nd place. So definitely lots of action right now, heading out into the first match of the game. So lots of position changes. So, but so far they're doing pretty well for their first year. You know, it's their first ever Marshalltown Mario Kart team. So it's something really great to be part of. You know, it gives a lot of these kids these opportunities, and definitely something to do after school, you know. So looks like we're heading into the final race here. Let's see where they end up and how they make it. Ross will start out in 2nd place, and we got Gunner ending up in 5th. So start out the race. Ross ends up in 1st place, and we got Gunner in 4th place. Ross, let's see if we can have him hold that 1st place lead, but looks like he gets overpassed and takes that spot back. We have Gunner ending up in 6th place, unfortunately, and we got Ross coming back, sticking with that 1st place spot. And then let's see here, Ross takes up that second place spot, neck and neck with 1st player, has a green shell. Ooh, ends up getting hit with the red shell and ends up all the way back in 5th place, 4th place. And it looks like Gunner's just trying to catch up to the group here. We got Ross catching up to the top leaders here. Ends up throwing a fireball. He's got the fire flower. Still in 4th place here, trying to catch up to those top leaders. And ends up getting some special help here with 3 boost mushrooms. Ends up going straight down the middle to try and get some time cut up here and cut the gap short. Ends up neck and neck with that 3rd player, takes 3rd spot. And it looks like they're still battling out. Gets a boost mushroom to help him out, take a bigger gap towards the lead, avoiding those cows. Ooh, ends up a bomb there. Nice. Ends up breaking to get the other player, but ends up getting the 3rd spot taken by another one. Right behind him, neck and neck, gets 3 more boost shells. Unfortunately, gives another boost shell to or a boost mushroom to one of the other players. Goes through, still in 3rd place, trying to catch up to those other top players, and ends up in 3rd place, and Gunner in 6th. Looks like that's how they'll end up finish. We'll have Marshalltown Ross tying 2nd place with one of the other players, and we got Gunner in 6th. So looks like that'll be the final of Team 3. Now looks like we'll be switching out to the first team players. And let's see how they end up doing on their first match. And speaking of helping out and giving us some opportunities, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Without them, none of this would be here for us. You guys wouldn't be able to watch our amazing Mario Kart team or our Overwatch team or any of our other esports teams. So huge thank you to Mac9, Emerson, Marshalltown Company, Raycom, JBS, and UFCW Local 1149. Huge thank you to you guys, honestly. And let's switch over to Team 1. We have Jonathan on the left and Juan on the right. We'll have to, looks like they're getting set up and ready to go. So, honestly, such a great first match that we see here. Good job to both players trying their best and trying to get that top leader spot for each one. But you can only try so hard, right? So, well, it looks like they're going to get ready to go ahead and get started here. Looks like they're booting everything up. You can see on there what they have ready. They're picking their maps on what they want to race on. So we picked our map, they'll pick their next map, and we'll be switching between there and selecting everyone's suggested course. So and they got their other course set in. That's kind of just a more of a straightaway versus a loop. Some of these maps are just a straightaway versus a circuit, a continuous loop. So see which one it lands on. Oh, looks like it lands on that map. So let's go ahead and start getting bounced up. It's a Mount Wario is the map that they'll be racing on. Let's go ahead and see them get started. And we got Jonathan on the left and Juan on the right. As you can see up on the top of your screen, you can see their names up there. Jonathan ends up missing right away and gets the last place with that boost. Usually if you hold the gas, you can get a quick boost in the beginning. We got Juan trying to fight for that third and fourth and second place. Ends up throwing a red shell, gets blocked. We got Jonathan coming back with the red boost mushrooms. And we got Juan taking second place. Catching up right to that first player spot. Jonathan's not far behind, trying to catch up to third and second place. Juan ends up taking third place. And coming not far behind, Jonathan gets a boost mushroom. Juan throws a red honing shell, ends up blocking it, so it doesn't get the player with that. Jonathan ends up with 3 green shells, ends up getting hit, Juan, and dropping down to fourth place. Jonathan ends up taking second place and has his green shells, ends up getting a red shell. So not far behind, throws off that red shell to catch up to that first player spot. And I don't believe he ends up getting him, so ends up missing that one. But Juan's not far behind. They end up throwing a blue shell to catch up to that first player spot. See if they end up getting hit and catching up to him. Juan's not far behind with 5th place, trying to catch up to that 4th place. And Jonathan throws up his bombs, a little bomb that kind of it's a ticking time bomb. It explodes when it gets set down. Ends up getting a boost mushroom and ends up using it, try catching up to that first player spot. Gets a red shell right behind him, ends up getting hit with that red shell. We got Jonathan not far behind with 5th place using the boost shell or the boost mushrooms. 2 of the players end up getting bullet bills, which gives them a quick boost up to the top position. Blue shell gets up throwing, which hones in only to first player. Jonathan has ends up getting him nice to second place. Ends up catching up, trying to get to that first. Someone right behind him ends up knocking him down to 3rd place, and ends up all the way to 4th. And we got Juan in 6th, and we ended up 4th and 5th place, right next to each other. Tough match. So, as you can tell, it's a pretty hectic and crazy map. So, lots of action going on. Lots of nail biting moments. Looks like they ended up not getting their map picked. They go with Yoshi Valley. Let's see how the team here does here. They will end up in 4th and 5th place starting out positions. So let's see if they can get a quick boost up forward. Nice. And then Jonathan gets up, but Juan ends up not doing that boost very well and ends up in 6th place. Jonathan ends up taking 2nd and 3rd, bouncing back and forth between those 2 positions. Ends up in 2nd again, gets hit with the red shell, and we got Juan with the boost mushroom. Jonathan ends up coming back to 5th place, and we got Juan right behind him. Jonathan's battling back and forth between. Ends up getting hit with the red shell from his own teammate Juan. Looks like Juan jumps off the map, and we got Jonathan right behind on 5th place, trying to catch up to them. Ends up hitting a banana and gets slipped on there, unfortunately. Ends up still in 5th and 6th place. It looks like we're stuck at. Trying to catch up to those leader positions to end up taking some shortcuts, and he's got a star power. Looks like having some tough time trying to catch up to these guys. Ends up getting the golden mushroom, which the golden mushroom actually gives you unlimited boosts for a certain amount of time. But looks like he got hit with the lightning port, so the lightning ends up taking away his gold mushroom. Looks like he's not that far behind. Has a star power in his hand, which he can hit it, and he has also some boost mushrooms, which can kind of get him a little closer to them. Looks like he's only behind 2 other players, so he only has 1 more lap to go. Juan has unlimited mushroom, but he ends up throwing the blue shell to catch up to the first player spot. Jonathan ends up taking 4th place, and not far behind 2nd and 3rd. And he ends up taking some green shells and ends up taking 3rd place, so he is slowly catching up, but he needs a little bit quicker to catch up to those. Oh, ends up hitting him with his green shell and gets him back, so he's back to 3rd place. Throws his shell back at him. He has a fire flower. Juan ends up being Bullet Bill and tries to catch up and close that gap a little bit further. Starts throwing all those and misses, unfortunately, and he's super close. Ends up hitting him with that green shell and taking that 2nd place spot. And let's see if he can hold it off, and nice job. Ends up holding off for that 2nd place spot. Juan ends up taking that 6th. Nice job by Jonathan getting back that 2nd place spot. Boosts him up all the way to 3rd place. Lots of crazy action, especially seeing that final shell hit that final player to get that 2nd spot. That was like icing on the cake there. So looks like they'll finally pick a road. Rainbow Road is what they'll pick out, and let's see what they end up picking and see what the computer picks. Oh, ends up getting, I believe, Bowser's Castle. So this one would be a bit of a tough one. Alright, so Jonathan will start in 2nd place, and Juan will end up in, I believe he's still in 6th. So end up getting that boost that they need, so still battling between 2nd and 3rd. Juan, the back of the pack, gets up Jonathan gets up a green shell. Ends up throwing it nice, ends up hitting him and gets 1st place. Gets back to 2nd place. Someone ends up taking 1st from him. Juan making his way up through the leaderboard, gets up 2nd place right next to his teammate, ends up falling off the map and getting all the way to 5th place. We got Jonathan in 2nd still, coming up right behind, trying to catch up to that 1st place spot. Has a boost mushroom and a red shell, so takes up that shortcut for that 1st place spot. Ends up defending the shell with that red shell. And they're battling out for 1st spot. Gets up the gold coin. Juan right behind 4th place. Gets up taking 4th place. Jonathan gets hit. Still in that 1st position spot. And looks like Juan's still trying to catch up to them. Jonathan still holding on to that 1st place spot. And Juan not far behind. Looks like Jonathan will get some extra help here. He gets a coin and a boost. Ooh, ends up getting hit with the red shell and ends up getting all the way down to 3rd place. We got Juan not far behind, catching up to that 4th place player. And Jonathan with a speaker that ends up blasting a speaker, whatever gets near him away. So blue shell's coming out, ends up getting swapped out with the ghost, gets hit with the blue shell. We got Juan right behind Jonathan on that 4th place position. It looks like they just need to catch up to those guys. Jonathan got hit with some unfortunate shells, and ends up getting hit with the gold, or with the flame. Ends up trying to catch up 3rd place. We got Juan in 4th place, and Jonathan not far behind from 3rd. Still trying to catch up to those other 2nd and 1st place players. One of their teams got a Bullet Bill, which gives them, like I said, a boost in invincibility, so none of the other shells or anything like that can damage them. So end up in 4th and 5th place, Jonathan and Juan. And it keeps Jonathan in 3rd, and we keep Juan in 5th place. So yeah, that bullet bill is definitely a really good boost if you're far behind. It gives you some temporary invincibility and as well as a speed boost. So definitely a lot of help when you have when you're back in last place. Gives you a bit of a boost up forward. Sometimes it can be a really good help when you're in 4th and they're really close. So final race here for the first team. Let's see if they can get a nice boost forward. And both end up getting a pretty decent boost. Yeah, it looks like they'll end up starting in 4th and 6th. Juan's trying to catch up to them and ends up getting in 2nd place. Well, we got Jonathan really catching up quick in 3rd place. And Juan ends up getting back in 3rd. Looks like Jonathan gets some boost mushrooms. And we got Juan not far behind. Jonathan ends up taking 2nd place. Gets a red shell. Ends up throwing it. Gets a red shell behind him as well. They both get hit. So, and they end up dropping all the way down to 5th place. And Juan, not that far off, kind of actually helped them out there and kept all the group together. So they're still all kind of bundled up together, grouped. So Juan ends up getting hit. And Jonathan, not far behind, trying to catch up to 2nd and 3rd place. Has a boomerang, so that'll come back to him, and he kind of gets extra usage out of that. So that's a nice perk of that one as well. Ends up losing it. Trying to catch up to that 2nd and 3rd place players right in front of him. They're battling it. I was right. Takes a shortcut. Ends up paying off and getting 3rd place. Ends up paying off even more and getting a 2nd place. We got Juan right behind in 6th place, trying to catch up to that 5th place player. And Jonathan, not that far behind from 1st place, so doing pretty well. Gets a red honing shell, throws it off, and the player ends up blocking it and gets another red honing shell. It looks like he hit him, so that cuts the gap down significantly. Looks like he gets another red honing shell, ends up blocking it. And it looks like a red honing shell is right behind him, misses him, and ends up getting a 2nd place. And we got Juan catching up all the way to 3rd place. Nice job. Looks like that boosted up Juan significantly to 4th place. So it was a 3-way tie to 4th place, and we got Jonathan ends up catching up 3rd place. So definitely really tough teams that we have coming up against. So good job to the other teams as well. Looks like we'll end up switching to our 2nd team, and now we'll get that names on the board there. So we have Mauricio Javi on the left, and we have Mark on the right. We'll end up picking, so we got Javi picking a dry bones with a teddy bear. And it looks like Mark is going to end up picking a Yoshi, a blue Yoshi. So, looks like they'll take a look. Sorry, looks like we have Javi on the right and Mark on the left. So Javi is the blue Yoshi and Mark is the dry bones. So A lot of people honestly think that Mario Kart is just a simple family fun game, but as you can tell from these kids playing, it's definitely a competitive match. So it's a lot, honestly. It's a lot to think about. You can have to drift. Sometimes some players are maybe when you're playing with your family, it has automatic steering for you, so it doesn't keep you. So it keeps you on the road versus falling off, which you may think these players are having a tough time staying on the map, but it's quite difficult. It's 150 cc's, I believe, which is like pretty quick. It's a step below down 200. 200 is really crazy. If you played it at home, you know how crazy 200 is. 200 cc is nearly impossible to drive. So, all right, first race. Let's see how Team 2 does it with Javi, Mauricio Nunez on the right, and Mark on the left. Mark ends up getting busted with that boost. Javi ends up getting first place. Let's see if he can keep it. Gets a banana shell, so ends up blocking the banana with blocking the red shell with the banana. Still sticking with that first place. Mark is not far behind with the fourth place, trying to catch up to that third place player. And Javi's still sticking with that first place. And Mark, not that far behind, ends up getting battling back and forth between that fifth place. Gets overtaken with that Bowser. Javi as well ends up getting overtaken. Throw a red shell, end up defending it. Javi not that far behind. Right there, ends up just catching up to him and taking that first place spot. Has a banana. Oh, Mark ends up getting hit and drops back down to fifth. We got Javi using the banana as a defense and blocks that red shell. And not that far behind first place. Mark ends up ditching all the bananas to catch up. Javi ends up getting hit with a red shell. Gets dropped back down all the way to third place. And Mark's still trying to catch up to those top players. Javi ends up getting a banana slip and falling back down. Still in third place. Looks like he got overtaken by fifth place. So, he ends up getting taken over by fourth place and gets dropped down to fourth. Throws in a honing shell to try and catch up to him. Hits him. Takes back third place. Mark's not far behind and is in fifth. Ends up getting off the map and slows down a little bit. And looks like Javi not that far behind from those second players. So, still trying to catch up to those guys. And we got Mark dropping back down to sixth place. Javi still in third place. And he gets star power, ends up using his star power, which also gives him a bit of invincibility, and using his boost mushroom and catching up to third place. And Mark ends up getting sixth. So Javi was doing pretty well there, sticking with that first place. Maybe if he had a little bit more defense, he really got burned with those red shells, but we will see how the next race ends up going. End up picking their choice for the second race map. And let's see where they end up. Oh, ends up getting our choice of map, so looks like over here, Shroom Ridge. Those over here in the players, seems like Javi says this is his best map, so let's take a look and see how well he does on this one. Alright, get a nice boost here. Gets a nice, ends up in first place right away, and Mark not that far behind in fourth place, catching up to all those other guys. Javi did not pick up any extra help here. Still holding off to that first place spot. Trying to get that lead from them, trying to build a gap here. Still misses the extra help here and hit the surprise squares, which gives them a little bit of a boost. Mark here trying to battle out, trying to get that second place and takes it. Has a red boost mushroom. Not that far behind, still right behind him. Still trying to catch up. Takes a red boost mushroom and not that far behind. Ooh, ends up hitting the wall and ends up getting hit with the banana. All the way dropped back down to fourth place, and we got Javi still holding that first place lead. But Mark over here still trying to catch up. Ends up taking that fourth place. Javi throws that banana, gets rid of it. And Mark ends up taking a shortcut. Paid off for one spot here. Ends up making it to 4th place. Who ends up getting hit. Still sticking with that 4th place spot. And Javi's still holding on to that lead and getting a huge lead on the building quite a significant amount of a gap. And we got Mark not that far off in 5th place. Trying to catch up to those guys. And looks like, oh, he gets a bullet bill. Trying to catch up to those other guys. And Javi still holding on to that lead. Has quite a significant amount of gap holding between the other guys. And there we go. Mark ends up getting a golden mushroom. Gets a limited amount of boost. Boosts up. Gets that 4th player spot. Trying to catch up to that 3rd spot. And gets a star power as well. Trying to catch up to them. Javi ends up taking that 1st place spot, but a bullet bill ends up coming from behind. Like I said, that bullet bill is quite a huge gap, and ends up getting hit with the red. Ends up getting it. Oh, and ends up getting 4th place. Nice job. That was a good one. So Mark ends up getting 5th place overall, and Javi's in 2nd, so they got one more race to go, I believe. And let's see how they end up. That one was definitely a nail biter in the end one with Mark and getting him that 3rd place spot, I believe. So it was a good one. So all right, we're going with Toad Harbor. Let's see how well they do on this one. This one's a pretty good one. So, looks like Mark got 4th, and Javi stuck with that 1st place win. So, let's see if they can get a boost. Both end up getting a boost. Mark goes all the way to 3rd. Oh, Javi ends up missing, falling into the water, and getting all the way to 6th place. Mark's holding on to that 1st place lead with a red shell. Javi can still catch up with the 5th place. Let's see how well he does. Let's see how well he tries to catch up. We got Mark. Oh, ends up getting hit. He should have used that banana as a defense instead of holding on to it. And looks like Javi, 3rd place, overtakes Mark, catching up to those other top spots. And we still got Mark right behind Javi, not that far off. Takes up a shortcut, ends up taking 3rd, but it looks like Javi ends up taking back that 3rd place spot. And one of the other players looks like he has a red shell. They could potentially shoot that shell backwards as well. It doesn't hone backwards, but you can shoot it backwards and hit a player behind you. So you kind of got to watch out with that one as well. Looks like Mark and Javi are fighting each other for 3rd and 4th place spot. Gets a boost from that red mushroom. And looks like they're trying. Javi's almost there, trying to catch up to that 2nd place spot. It's not that far off. Gets a piranha plant. Piranha plant just kind of starts chomping at everything. So he's just chomping down. Tries to take a shortcut, but he doesn't have a boost, so it doesn't really work that very well. Slowed him down, if anything. We got Mark still fighting. He ends up getting 5th place. And Javi is catching up to those top player spots. Gets a boost. Still stuck in 3rd. As you can see, there's 1st and 2nd right ahead of him. So ends up missing that banana. Oh, man. That would have definitely set him back for far. Oh, ends up hitting the train and gets him set back a little further. Ends up getting a bullet bill. Like I said, that bullet bill is kind of indestructible. And we got Javi, not that far off. Ends up taking a boost and takes that shortcut. That's usually how the shortcut works. Ends up getting that 2nd place, and Mark takes the bullet bill for 5th place. So another tight race. I believe they have one more, actually. I lied. So pretty Pretty crazy stuff. Yeah, that bullet bill is kind of, like I said, a really great usage. So you can kind of start flying through all there and using a lot of ground to keep up. And like I said, it kind of makes you invincible. So even if shells hit you or if you try to hit any of the objects, and it keeps you on track as well compared to like star power. Star power, you still have to control it. You still get some invincibility, but you have to control the player holding in map. So a bullet bill helps out a lot because it keeps you in the map. There's no way for you to fall off at all with bullet bill and versus star power, but both of them are very good, very helpful, just for the invincibility aspect and that boost. You get a boost with both of them. So final race, let's see how they end up playing here. And both end up with a good boost. It looks like Javi will take that first place position right away. See if he can hold on to it. Gets taken over by that from that Luigi. Gets coins. Now the one thing with coins is why you might be asking, why are you getting coins if you can't use it? Well, if you have 10 coins, if you see in the bottom left there, on the, it shows how many coins they have. If you have 10 coins, it gives you a little bit of an extra boost as well. So it's kind of useful to hold all those coins. Looks like Mark ends up falling off and getting 6th place. Javi's still holding on to that first position spot. This map is kind of difficult because there's not a lot of guardrails, so you can fall off the map a lot. Javi holding on to the banana, getting hit with a green shell. Ends up throwing the banana, trying to catch up to that first player. We got Mark catching up to fourth, trying to catch up to Javi, which is in 3rd place now. So definitely trying to catch up a lot to these guys here. The front player of Javi has a red shell. Ooh, ends up shooting it back and barely missing Javi. We got Mark with a boost mushroom. Not that far up behind Javi, and the front player also of Javi has that red honing shell. Ooh, ends up hitting him with that red honing shell. Mark ends up falling off the map and getting still in 4th place. Javi ends up taking that 2nd place. Trying to catch up to that Luigi boost through there and cutting off that corner, which kind of helps him out a lot because now you can see the first play there in front of him. So has a green shell, which like I said, you're gonna have to aim, shoots it and bounce it off of the wall there. He's got to be careful not to hit himself. And we got Mark with star power and also some boost mushrooms. Ends up throwing one of the red shells, ends up defending it. So still trying to catch up to that first player position. Ooh, a lot of bananas there. Be careful. And still trying to catch up. Mark using the... Ooh, ends up using the... Falls off the map, Mark. Like I said, that map is pretty difficult because there's not a lot of guardrails on there. And Javi ends up taking a 2nd place position. So, a tough fight. And Mark ends up getting 4th place. So, let's take a look. Like I said, this map is pretty difficult because there's not a lot of guardrails on there. And it's pretty easy to fall off that map. So, and it looks like they end up finishing. Javi gets 2nd place and Mark ends up with 5th. So, best position of the day so far. I believe it's 2nd place. So, not too bad. So, it does pretty well. All right. So, I believe that should be the final match. Thank you all. It's a pretty short match. Not that much to watch. Pretty quick. So thank you for joining us. And we will see you on the next one. I believe will be next Tuesday. So thank you for joining me today. I am Coach Jose Ramirez. But today I was your streamer. And on behalf of the March Down Bob